Good morning and welcome to PG Connect's Toronto 2023. How are we doing? Good. You all get an extra award for coming early. I know nothing starts before 10 a.m, so I really appreciate you turning out. Yes, this is our second year in Toronto, in this amazing city. Really love it. And it's our fourth PG Connects of the year so far. Just 3 more to go. 7 conferences in a year. Who said that was too many? Everybody in my team said that, actually. But still, that's what we're doing. So if you don't know me, my name's Chris James. I'm the CEO of Steel Media. I've got my little clicker. And Steel Media, as well as running these events, we also run some leading media like Pocket Gamer, PocketGamer.biz, BlockchainGamer.biz, BeyondGames.biz, you get the gist, and loads of other awards. Oh, it's gone forward 2 more. And then we do loads of other kind of events like the Top 50, the Mobile Games Awards, and Pocket Game Awards. Basically, anything that gets me on stage is good. So I'm enjoying this, that's great. Everything we do basically is about connecting people and celebrating the games industry. That's kind of what I enjoy, that's what we enjoy doing. And today we're hoping to do that to support further the already brilliant Canadian and Toronto games industry. PG Connects, we've been running these events for over a decade now, or nearly a decade now. It started in 2014, so next year's kind of our decade if you take out a COVID year. Oh God, spoilers! And we've hosted in that time over 35,000 delegates. In 11 countries, 12 actually we did one in Dubai, and this will be our 43rd conference. We've facilitated over 100,000 meetings during that time, and we reckon we're responsible for well over $1 billion of deals we've actually responsible for, I guess, helped, supported, facilitated. And as we said, slightly spoiled, but the company's been going for slightly longer than that. Click. This is us, 17 years ago, Steel Media. We haven't changed a bit, right? Look at that. That's the boy band cover that we started with. Over the next 2 days, we're hoping to add to those numbers. With over 600 delegates live here, some more virtually, and I think it's about 350 companies from about 40 countries. We're hoping to support, as I say, the Toronto games industry. So why are we in Toronto? It's a good question. Obviously, who's based in Toronto here? Good. Well, that's why you're in Toronto. That's a start. Toronto is a fast-growing tech hub. It's outside of New York and Silicon Valley. I think it's the biggest in the whole North American kind of continent in terms of big tech companies like your Googles, your Microsofts, your Twitters, etc. It also has a growing games system. There's 50 games companies we count at the moment, maybe more, including more recent rivals like Zynga and Rovio and Gameloft and Jam City. It's also it's part of a Canadian market that's worth, according to one analyst, over 7.7 billion this year and 10 billion by 2027. And also, it's one of the world's top 25 best cities to live, apparently. Does that ring true? London wasn't even close. So London was down in under 100 or something. So maybe I should move here. It is also the home of Enthusiast Gaming, which is our parent company. And loads of guys. Anybody from Enthusiast here? One. Yes, you got out of bed. That's good. Well, me, I guess. So that's fine. Why games? The games industry, we're on the games industry, we know why we're here. The kind of point of this Global Trends track and this intro especially is to try and set the scene for what's going in the market, why we should be excited, what are the big trends and numbers shaping it. So we're going to start there with where we were this year and where the forecasts are. The forecasts tend to be around $200 billion back to growth this year. If we look at the history of the industry, we've had 25 years of growth. That's incredible. That's a hell of a bull market. Until last year, which we'll talk about in a second. But it's grown year on year massively. If you actually take out the COVID jump in 2020, actually the trend is still generally upwards, as you can see in the Ampere date there. And as I say, 2022 is the first down year, but we've grown every year for 25 years otherwise. And more interestingly than the growth is how we're growing, the evolution of the industry. So you can see this is a really great chart. I'm trying to get an updated one of these because it just shows brilliantly how it grows in the industry from the arcade business and early consoles through the growth of PC gaming, handheld gaming, and then the explosion of mobile. And the really interesting thing here is, as you see, there's new technologies that come in. You can already see, I think this only goes up to about 2020. You can already see kind of cloud and VR gaming come in. You've got AI technology coming in. You've got blockchain, you've got the metaverse. This is going to be really fascinating to see how this goes forward for the next 3 to 5 years. And we're going to talk about some of that here today. So let's cover a quick recap of the last 12 months. This was me. Like that. I don't know. This was me back in Toronto around this time last year. And at that time, I was like how young and happy I was. We were still living in a world where the previous forecast from Newsy was 203 billion. The market was going to continue growing. COVID was kind of over. We were looking forward to just happiness and sunlit uplands, as a phrase we use in the UK. Obviously, it didn't quite work out like that. We had the war that can never happen happened, and that kind of compounded, the problems from that compounded the kind of COVID financial issues into this hyperinflation, which hit the whole world. Inflation went up, stocks went down. That was bad generally. To make things worse for the games industry, certainly the mobile industry, Apple decided to kind of chuck a hand grenade into the UA system. Thanks for that. And then China decided to shut their games business down for a year, which was great. And then China's one of the biggest games kind of markets in the world, second only to the US. So all those things kind of happened, and that led us to this figure that we all kind of shared from Newsy last year, this 184 billion, this 4% contraction in overall and 6% in mobile. Now, there we go, click. So this brings on to kind of the key trends. I'm going to whip through this as quickly as possible because this is a slightly long talk and I'm trying to make it quick. So one key trend that's going to continue, that's happening now, is market turbulence. There was a period where we thought the games industry might be recession-proof. We're not a luxury, we were kind of a habit and an essential, like a holiday or a new car, whatever. But that has kind of been questioned in the last sort of 12 months. We've seen the revenues declined a little bit. We've seen money much harder to come by, obviously, from the investment markets. And this has led to a lot of layoffs. I think some of the layoffs include all sorts of companies, include EA, sorry, I've got my notes here. EA, Kabam, Take-Two, 10 Square, Unity, Tilting Point, virtually everybody in the space, Unity, has kind of let people go. And it kind of culminated with Embracer's stock wobble and probably the biggest round of layoffs in June. So market turbulence is a thing, and it's going to continue for a little while. Sorry to hear that, sorry to say that. But there is positivity. The game stocks overall are kind of have been recovering along with the rest of the tech stocks. This is from the Drake Star report, which I'll be referring to a little bit, and they have this DCI, this Drake Star index, which tracks all of the major game shares. You can see a few of them there. And this, if you extend this out to June, which I didn't update the graphics, sorry, it's about 14.5% uptick generally. A few companies are down, Embrace had a tough time, a few are massively up, but generally there's kind of growth. So that growth, that in turn leads people to feel there's been more M&A, more market activity. Again, last couple of years have been absolutely insane for investment and market activity. This is, again, from Drake Star, and they basically combine mergers and acquisitions, investment into companies, and flotations to create this number. And as you can see, in 2020, 33 billion was already big up in the year before. 2021 was 85 billion, and then Q1 alone last year was 99 billion, and the year ended at 127 billion. Granted, that's been impacted by a few mega deals like Take-Two buying Zynga, and the Xbox and Activision Blizzard's King deal, which is about to go ahead by looks of things, finally, about sometime later. But yeah, there is going to be more of that to come. It has slowed down since Q2 2020. These are some interesting graphs to show the activity peaked and then kind of dropped off. And the start of this year started out slow. It was actually the lowest. I think it was like 3.4 billion activity in total, which is a lot of money, but it's the lowest for quite a while. But sneak preview. Don't tell them I've shared this because this isn't out till tomorrow. Basically, forget the embargo bit, it's fine. It's fine. No one's videoing this, right? But this is their report coming out tomorrow on Q2, and that will show an overall kind of uptick again, thanks largely to the Scopely and the kind of Rovio deals kind of happening. So Q2 seems to be a bit of a return to strength. And even though the investment is actually a bit lower, and it's certainly hard to come by, if you're trying to raise money, you'll know that right now, there's a lot of money sat on the sidelines. Last year, 11 billion was invested into games, as in just investments into startups or seed or Series A. And so far this year, it's been 2. Now, that doesn't mean that money's not sat there. It's sat in VCs, it's sat in funds, it's sat with angels. People still want to invest. It's just a little bit slow at the moment. So we can expect, generally, people are quite bullish about M&I growing. So investors will keep connecting, and you can do some of that here. We've got a Show Me the Money track later today in this room. And we've got Investor Connector starting at 10 if you're a part of that, where we're actually hoping to add to those numbers, where investors meet publishers and developers. Another trend going on is adversity. I mentioned it briefly, I won't go into too long, but like I say, the mobile UA system was like kind of finely tuned watch or kind of clockwork, and then Apple decided to chuck a hand grenade in 2021, or they announced they were going to do it. It finally kind of came through in 2022. Nobody knew how big it was going to be, but there was a survey last year which said that 40% of mobile developers in that survey said they'd suffered losses, and I think it was like 75% of those thought it could actually threaten their business. That's the scale of it. It's quite serious. Apple are actually going to clamp down a little bit further. They've got this thing called the Privacy Manifest they announced at WWDC recently, which is going to try and get around workarounds like fingerprinting. We've also got Google, who will finally be introducing their privacy sandbox, which is kind of their version of what Apple's doing, which they've kind of put off. It's supposed to come in Q3, but it has been delayed. Generally, this means this is a bit of a pain for mobile, especially mobile kind of marketing. So it just means you get less data. But people are coming up with solutions. The growth track coming up later today as well will discuss kind of opportunities to get around that. Another technology, won't talk too much. You can't have a tech conference without talking about AI right now. It is the biggest and most hyped sort of tech in the world right now. It's the right top of its hype curve. Social media's been awash with AI images. ChatGPT was the fast adopted tech stroke app ever until Threads came, which is really. And then, yeah, basically it's being used already across a lot of the games ecosystem. You've got people just auto-generating kind of graphics already, but much more than that, people are generating levels. They're having AI characters. There's Charisma AI doing that. There's NVIDIA have got this whole engine to create smart NPCs. And there's so many other things going on. Even there's a company called Ludo that's using AI to actually help inspire your ideas for games, which is kind of crazy. So AI is going to impact both in good and bad ways. I'll zip through this. Subscriptions, it's big in film and TV. It's big in games as well. Big projections that the subscription models is going to become an ever-growing model as part of games. It's not ideal for a lot of people. I know we've gone from box copy to kind of DLC and digital downloads to free-to-play. Now subscriptions are kind of the new kid in the block. Microsoft, I think, declared like 1 billion revenues in Q1 from Game Pass. Apple Arcade's and obviously committed, and Google as well for mobile subscriptions, and obviously if you feel like Netflix and Amazon are getting in this space currently. Not a lot to say other than this is something to watch out for. Blockchain. Anybody in blockchain? Any Web3 people? That is quite telling. No, it's all right. Sorry, sir. Blockchain was the hottest thing last year. That was where all the money was going, and it's had a turbulent few years. Big raises. We're advocates of the concept behind blockchain. Gamers being part of the economy is a good thing. We think that having this persistent universe and persistent tools and persistent characters or weapons or whatever that you can sell and can even be interoperable is brilliant. But so far, we haven't seen that much delivery on that promise just yet. All the big publishers are experimenting, and especially the Korean companies who are usually kind of a couple of steps ahead. The likes of kind of Come To Us and We Made and Netmarble, they're all big on Web3 one way or another. And then you've also got the kind of Web3 sort of specific companies like Animoca, like Mythical. You've got Yuga Labs, who did the Board Yacht Club, are hiring loads of games talent to create their other side games. And there's new kind of casual Web 2.5 games coming out at the moment, which is kind of like Web 2 games, which are games for everyone else, with some blockchain elements. And Enthusiasts actually have one called EV.io, so it's going to be a big year for blockchain. So I don't think it's going to go away. I think we're going to start to see the first breakthrough products this year. So it's going to be a big year. Another tech that kind of been through the hype curve and was overhyped and kind of every thought kind of disappeared was VR. Quietly though, that's a growing sector at the moment. It's worth about $2.5 billion this year. Some people are making proper money finally from that. I know a few developers are doing quite nicely in the VR space. And now, of course, we have Apple entering the space with their kind of new headset. Whether a $3,500 headset is going to add massively to the install base is questionable, but Apple tend to make smart bets, and clearly visual computing is something that they're interested in. We'll be talking about that a bit in our Tech Trends track, which I think is tomorrow. We're going to have a bigger track in Helsinki about virtual visions, looking at that if you make it across to Finland in September. A metaverse, if you add Web3 and VR, you get this thing, which is the metaverse. But currently, I think we're all a bit more metaverse, right? We're all a bit metaversed out. The central promise is still really strong. We all spend a lot of our lives in digital worlds already, whether it's Facebook or and social media, other kinds, or just emails. So all games. So to be in a persistent world doesn't seem that much of a stretch, and we've been kind of suckered in by these incredible images of these beautiful worlds that we could be part of, and the idea seems good. The reality has so far been less good. So this is the much pilloried sort of Facebook or Meta version. And obviously, Mark Zuckerberg was so in on Meta that he kind of renamed his whole company. But a lot of commentators think he's stepping back. He's kind of denied that, but he does seem a little bit more focused on the Muskverse right now. He's a bit more focused going head-to-head with Elon than on his Meta world. But there's a general feeling that this has all been a bit overhyped, and what is a metaverse, and is it ever going to work? However, I would caution that there's a lot of big, important companies made big bets and investments in this space, including the latest trillion-dollar company, NVIDIA. So maybe we'll have a quiet year and people will stop hyping the metaverse this year, but it's not going anywhere. This idea is going to come back right. A little bit simple and close to home, Web Store Wars, A New Hope, there you go, a riff. The walled gardens have been super important for growing the mobile ecosystem. Without kind of Apple and Google doing what they did with the app stores, we wouldn't have the mobile industry we have. However, now this seems to be the time to open up. Both stores are kind of now opening up a little bit to offer cross-platform links and sales. Maybe they didn't entirely want to. Maybe it's industry pressure and legislation, but they are doing it. So companies like Xsolla are working with leading developers like the Scopely's and the Supercell Niantic, etc., to help them kind of create their own stores, which allows them to keep more of the money, allows them to do more flexible products and mess around with different kind of pricing. And generally, I think this is a good thing for developers and publishers. It gives you much more flexibility. Apple not so keen, but there's going to be a talk about this directly on this track in about an hour from Xsolla if you're interested in that. Talking about distribution, multi-platforms are a big trend. Basically, the big mobile companies like Genshin, which is one of the most profitable, Hoyo, I think they're called MiHoYo or HoYoverse, I think they've renamed it, one of the most profitable mobile companies at the moment. A lot of those are looking at cross-platform now for new opportunities. So Genshin Impact is a massive game, is on every platform. Scopely and Plarium are making PC games. Supercell opened a whole new studio for non-mobile. Kabam are going cross-platform. And then the other side, you've got Xbox and Microsoft expressing the need to be more into mobile. I think Phil Spencer publicly lamented the brand's lack of presence. And some think that kind of the Activision Blizzard deal is in part tied into the King and the mobile gaming strength. And part of this is that if you look actually now, mobile, long been the kind of redheaded stepchild. I've been part of the mobile industry for a long time, as you saw before, 17 years. But actually now even the AAA companies like the Activision Blizzard, like Take-Two, thanks to the companies they've acquired, the mobile revenues, even in the current challenges, are still the biggest revenues of the company. So kind of AAA is becoming more mobile first. I won't go through this too much. If you're in hyper-casual games, anybody doing hyper-casual games? You're doing hybrid casual games now. That's all you need to know. Okay. UGC is a huge trend. There's a game that you've probably never heard of that had 32 billion visits. Has anybody heard of Adopt Me? Yes. You've heard of it. Okay. Apart from these super smart people that have heard of it, it's a kind of pet shop simulator thing on Roblox. And between all these user-generated games on Roblox, Roblox had 300 million monthly active users as a platform in May. And they've given out $624 million to their creators. This is a whole new gaming world that's creating kind of quietly in the background. Fortnite are in on it too. They launched the Unreal creator tools to help make great levels and stuff for Fortnite and to help be part of that game. And obviously, this isn't new. People have been making levels for Minecraft for ages. The Sims is kind of kept alive by kind of mods with enthusiasts on a site called the Sims Resource, and that is just fully about people making outfits and other mods for the Sims. So UGC, is it a step towards a metaverse? Is it an end in itself? Is it the future of games? I don't know, but UGC is a thing that's only going to get bigger. Other things that are just getting bigger is new markets. Although he talks about it being a dropped back a little bit this last year, a recession of sorts in the games industry, that wasn't global. The Middle East market is the fastest growing last year. That grew by 6.6%. Its player base grew. LATAM was up. India grew. The African market's starting to go to make inroads too as well. And these are markets with huge populations that are actually starting to deliver on their promise. So the future of the games industry is definitely going to be global, and the big growth is probably going to be outside the US and Europe. So you need to be aware of that and look at what you can do to harness these markets. And then gaming for good. Again, we've got a couple of tracks related to this. I think when you're the biggest industry, the biggest media and entertainment industry, you have, with great power comes great responsibility, right? So we need to be supporting positive change. We need to be doing initiatives like the Games for Us Club, encouraging reforestation. We want to have headlines about how we're helping connect people and be inclusive, not about loot boxes or sexism or difficult working practices. And that's kind of the broad level. On a more narrow company level, company culture is only going to become more important. Although people are laying off at the moment, that kind of actually puts more pressure on the existing staff. So you need your core staff to be brilliant, and you need to treat them well. So nobody from Steel Media say anything. So that is, but it's crucial to kind of engage your staff and your players. And another part of this industry, which we try and do our best to support, which is where a lot of the creativity comes from, is the indies. We need to foster the small developers, support them, encourage them. That's where the new ideas and new concepts are more likely to come from, because they're able to take risks and they want to. A bit of celebration. I'm going to be a bit over, but I'll get through this very quickly. Games are the #1 media category. Some of the biggest TV shows have been based on games. The biggest box office film this year so far is Super Mario. Everybody wants part of the games industry, and we are the biggest. And we're going to get bigger. The next generations see video games overtaking traditional media. So for Gen Z and millennials, they spend more time with games than anything else, and that's kind of growing. And it's going to get even bigger than the next lot. Gen Alpha, which I'd never heard of until I did this, is a new lot. That's the little fellas. And they're kind of being raised with a gaming control in their hands. So successive generations are just getting more and more into games. And I can say it from my own son, I can validate. They do their social life. Even if they're not playing a game, they're in the game environment, talking to each other, discussing things. Games are going to be the centre of life now. We're taking over everything. And brand, this is the final trend here, is that brands are taking note of this. So we're not the only people to notice this. The big brands are looking at more interesting ways to interact with customers, present and future, and so they're engaging with games in a number of ways. And this is something, again, our parent company, to end of my plugs for that, are laser focused on. They're doing some really cool stuff, like with the NFL, with brands like Lego, Bacardi, Oral-B. And I think we've got someone going to come up, Alex, to come and talk a little bit about some of those initiatives shortly. But yeah, brands entering the game space is important, I think. It's a big deal. They've been around for a long time, but I think they're looking at it seriously now. Hopefully that'll be the next wave of advertising that and revenue that comes in. And all of which means the games market next is looking bullish. I didn't make these reports, other people did. You can take them with a pinch of salt, but generally it's hard to find a forecaster that's saying anything other than growth for our industry, which means it is the best time to be in games. Are we excited? Sort of. More excited than that, okay. 2 more minutes and then you can go and we'll move on. So here we are, next couple of days, we've got loads of conference content. You can, if you miss any of the talks, there will be videos shared, usually about 3 or 4 weeks after the show, so you've got to edit them and put them out on the video vaults. You'll all get access to that. The schedule is live on the website. It's also live in the Meet to Match. If you've not been in Meet to Match yet, please go. This is the central meeting platform. Even if you don't want to have meetings, it's just good to check in and tell people you're not interested in meeting, that's fine. The show is pretty straightforward. We've got talks here and there, expo over there, meeting space in the middle. But in the expo, please do vote for your favourite indie game. We do this Audience Choice Award with Byte Brew. You just need to go around and play a few games and vote for what you think is the best game, and we'll announce the winner at the end. We've got fringe events you can take part in. Investor Connect is all booked up, so you can't do that if you're not in. Big Indie Pitch this afternoon from 2 o'clock. If you want to take part in that, it's probably an opportunity. And then the Publisher Speed Match tomorrow from 2 o'clock. If publishers, we've got a lot of developers and we've got a bit of space for publishers. If a publisher wants to get involved in that, go to reception, you can register. If you need help, go to reception probably after 11 o'clock today and check out the sites. If you want to tweet, it's #PGConnects if you like doing that. If Twitter, is anybody still on Twitter? See, it's not dead yet, is it? That's true. Or you can probably thread it as well. I don't know if that works, but yeah, or Mastodon it or whatever. This is the Wi-Fi, so you might take a grab that if you haven't got that already. It's usually on the badge, but I can't see it on the badge, so maybe. So if you need to get on the Wi-Fi and you can't, that should be it. Final shout out to our sponsors. A big thank you for Game Changer, SF, Moloko, Clever Tap Gaming, Digital Turbine, our gold sponsors. And our silver sponsors, Imobi, Aleo, Adjust. Bronze sponsors, Byte Brew, Mobile Action. Can we have a round of applause for those sponsors, please? They're paying for everything. We also have track sponsors, associate sponsors, media partners, incredible speakers, 100 credible speakers. If you want to know about any of the speakers, not me, on there, there's little bios on the website. You can find a little bit more about them and connect with them. Steel Media team, they do a brilliant job. Again, not me. This is some of the faces you might see around the place. Be kind and patient with them. They've worked really hard. Some of them were drinking till quite late this morning, so don't shout at them. And I need to say, we are also part of a wider company now, part of the universe. We're part of the Enthusiast Gaming universe, which again, Alex will come and talk about, which is currently, I think, was recently the #1 ComScore gaming property in the US. It's growing all over the place. We've got sites, YouTube channels, TikTok channels, esports rosters, and God knows what, and we're in there. Woo, yeah, there you go. Woo, good woo. Finally, if you like this stuff and you enjoy it, we've got plenty more of it, don't worry, 7 a year. Keep going. And so we're back in Helsinki in September. We're in Jordan in November. We're actually going to do another CEO summit in Saudi Arabia in December, and then back in London in January. And we're also going to be at Gamescom doing some side events. If you're at Gamescom, seek us out. And most importantly, there's a party this evening. Anybody want to go to a party? Let's go! No, let's not go. So tonight we're having the party. There's drinks and ping pong, so you can do that in either order. It's up to you. And that's it for me. Now.